Hello friends. Have you ever met someone who seems like a paradox wrapped in precision? Someone who calculates their every move with analytical grace, yet beneath their calm exterior hides a restless mind, craving novelty and mischief. If you have, chances are, they're a Virgo born in the year of the monkey. This personality pairing is a fascinating mix of intellect and unpredictability, a grounded earth sign merged with the trickster of the Chinese Zodiac. Together, they create a person who is smart, detailed, adaptable, but also layered with quirks, contradictions, and surprising emotional depth. Let's crack this fascinating character open, from love to friendship, marriage to ambition, business to bedroom, and even their darker edges. Buckle up. Love, the careful fire. Falling in love with a Virgo monkey is never about reckless passion or instant connection. It's not about whirlwind dates or grand romantic gestures performed for show. No, this kind of love starts subtly, like a melody playing quietly in another room. You won't even realize you're being studied, gently and silently, by someone whose mind runs faster than they let on. Virgo monkeys approach love like a research project with a beating heart. They observe, absorb, and evaluate every detail before allowing themselves to feel. It's not coldness, it's protection. Their trust must be earned through consistency, logic, and a little spark of unpredictability. They're not testing you maliciously, they're trying to see if you're emotionally safe and intellectually stimulating. If love is a chessboard, they're already 5 moves ahead, hoping you'll match their pace. The observation phase. Before they ever let themselves fall, Virgo monkeys gather data like emotional scientists. They notice everything, from how you treat service staff to the cadence of your speech when you're excited or anxious. They won't always comment on it, but rest assured, they're storing these observations like a high-performance hard drive. If you say you love books, they'll remember the author you mentioned in passing and surprise you with a vintage copy months later. This is not just affection, this is calculated devotion. But this intense observation isn't just charming, it's also a test. They're watching to see if your words match your actions, if your emotions are stable, and whether you have your own sense of identity. A partner who is emotionally chaotic or dishonest will be quietly, almost invisibly, filtered out of their romantic equation. They won't start drama, they'll simply disappear. Emotional architecture. Once you've passed their initial filters, love with a Virgo monkey becomes architectural. They start building it with you, piece by intentional piece. They're not here for messy, chaotic love stories with ups and downs for drama's sake. They want a love that feels like a beautifully engineered house, safe, smart, stylish, and built to last. And yet, don't mistake this desire for structure as a lack of feeling. On the contrary, Virgo monkeys feel deeply, but their emotions are processed inwardly, run through a mental system of checks and balances. They'll never be the first to scream, "I love you," across a crowded room, but they'll be the first to notice when you're feeling off, even if you don't say a word. Their love is quietly loud. It shows up in acts of service, subtle touches, midnight conversations, and in the way they subtly organize your life without you even noticing. Romantic style and intimacy. When it comes to romantic expression, Virgo monkeys are all about personalized connection. Think thoughtful dates based on things you've mentioned offhand, playlists that echo your mood, and gifts so specific it feels like they read your mind. They aren't about cliches. Roses and candlelit dinners might happen, but only if they know it actually means something to you. Their intimacy style is equally nuanced. They don't just crave physical closeness, they crave psychological resonance. Before they let down their guard physically, they need to feel mentally aligned. But when that trust is built, you'll see a whole new side of them. The monkey in them brings unpredictability, sensual playfulness, and even a mischievous streak. One night they'll plan a sensual evening down to the lighting and music. The next, they might suggest skinny dipping under the stars. It's intellectual foreplay, emotional bonding, and physical connection, all in one. The balance between stability and novelty. Perhaps the greatest complexity in loving a Virgo monkey is their inner duality, the Virgo's craving for order, and the monkey's hunger for novelty. This is not a contradiction, it's their dance. To keep them engaged long-term, love must be both reliable and fresh. They don't want a partner who changes personalities weekly, but they do want someone who grows. Someone who stays curious, asks questions, explores new hobbies, and pushes boundaries gently. Routine is fine, as long as it's not boring. They will never stop loving someone who surprises them with intelligent conversation, spontaneous travel plans, or a new perspective. But the moment love becomes stagnant, repetitive, or emotionally lazy, the monkey within them begins to stir. They might not leave right away. Virgo loyalty is strong, but they'll start drifting inwardly, retreating into mental mazes to avoid the dullness. Keep growing, keep wondering, keep evolving, and their love will remain fiercely, passionately yours. Marriage, the strategic union. For the Virgo monkey, marriage isn't a spontaneous act of passion. It's a high-stakes decision calculated with the precision of a grandmaster chess move. Beneath their often witty, curious, and approachable exterior is a deeply analytical core that views lifelong commitment as something sacred, structured, and strategic. Before they say, "I do," they've already considered compatibility metrics, emotional alignment, shared life goals, conflict resolution styles, and financial tendencies, and that's just phase 1. Love may bring them to the altar, but logic makes them stay. If you're in a marriage with a Virgo monkey, know that you were not chosen at random. You were selected, after much thought, as a life partner, someone who brings value, balance, and intrigue to their life. They're not looking for a co-star in a fairy tale. They're looking for a co-architect in a shared empire. Planning meets possibility. A Virgo monkey spouse is an elite hybrid of the pragmatic and the spontaneous. Think vision board meets impromptu skydiving. They crave structure, routines, and predictability. Their calendars are color-coded, their weekends booked 2 months out, and yes, they might have a marriage spreadsheet. But just when you start to settle into that stability, the monkey side kicks in. Suddenly they're pitching a last-minute road trip or suggesting you both take a sabbatical to travel through Patagonia. This isn't hypocrisy, it's balance. Their soul needs both security and stimulation. So, while their lives may seem tightly managed, they always leave room for the unexpected. That's why marriage with them never feels stale. There's always the sense that something clever, playful, or meaningful is just around the corner. They won't be content unless the partnership supports both planning and possibility. Emotional economy and loyalty. Unlike some partners who wear their hearts on their sleeves, Virgo monkeys are emotionally economical. They give love deliberately, not out of fear or hesitation, but because they believe in making emotional investments that matter. You won't find them clinging or smothering. Their love is quieter, shown through acts of support, shared goals, and late-night strategy talks over herbal tea. Loyalty is one of their deepest values, but it isn't blind. They will not remain in a marriage that's chaotic, dishonest, or emotionally manipulative. However, if you're honest, consistent, and evolving, they'll stand by you through every storm. Their version of devotion is rock solid and fiercely private. You may not get daily grand declarations, but you'll get unwavering presence, fixing what's broken, adjusting the plan, carrying more weight when you're tired. That's love for them, being a true partner in every possible sense. Mental connection as marital glue. If you want to truly understand why Virgo monkey marriages last, or don't, look no further than mental stimulation. While other couples might bond through constant physical affection or shared hobbies, Virgo monkeys need intellectual intimacy to thrive. They fall in love with your ideas, your analysis, your wit. They want a partner who can match their curiosity, challenge their assumptions, and hold their own in debates that span everything from philosophy to pop culture. Boredom is the ultimate red flag for them. If the marriage becomes mentally stagnant, they start drifting, not always physically, but intellectually and emotionally. They don't need a genius, but they do need a thinker. Conversations that spiral into unexpected directions, deep dives into obscure topics, even respectful arguments, these are their love language. Keep them intellectually engaged, and they'll keep showing up, every day. The dance of control and freedom. Marriage to a Virgo monkey often requires mastering a unique rhythm, the balance between control and freedom. Virgo energy thrives on organization, tidiness, and control over daily life. They love plans that work and systems that don't fail. The monkey side, though, it craves autonomy, rebellion, and a bit of chaos just to keep things interesting. This duality can cause internal tension, and that spills into the marriage. One day they may micromanage the weekend itinerary down to the last snack, and the next, they'll want to scrap it all and explore without a map. Their partner must not only tolerate this back and forth, they must respect it. Give them space to breathe, let them have their weird hobbies, respect their need for occasional isolation, and they'll return with renewed love and focus. Try to control them too tightly? You'll crush the monkey. Be too unreliable? You'll frustrate the Virgo. The secret lies in letting them lead sometimes, challenge them other times, and above all, knowing when to let go and when to hold on. Sex, precision meets play. To the outside world, the Virgo monkey might seem reserved, the type who blushes at dirty jokes or avoids PDA. But beneath that calm, composed shell is a lover who sees sex not as chaos or conquest, but as an art form. They approach intimacy with the same meticulous thought they apply to everything else in life, only here, the stakes are emotional, sensual, and deeply personal. Virgo brings intentionality and attention to detail. Monkey brings spontaneity and cheeky boldness. Together, they create an experience that is both refined and thrilling. They're not casual about pleasure. It matters to them, and they take pride in crafting sexual encounters that are as mentally stimulating as they are physically satisfying. To them, sex isn't just an act, it's a custom-curated moment designed to deepen trust, explore imagination, and elevate connection. The psychology of seduction. For the Virgo monkey, foreplay doesn't begin with a kiss. It begins with observation. They study your moods, reactions, insecurities, and hidden desires with quiet precision. They notice when your voice softens, when your posture changes, or when you mention a fantasy without meaning to. Mental stimulation is where the seduction really begins. A clever tease in a conversation, an unexpected compliment, or an inside joke turned flirtation. They'll take their time laying the groundwork, letting the tension simmer until the moment is just right. This isn't laziness, it's strategy. Their slow burn style of seduction is designed to build anticipation and emotional safety. And once they know they've got your mind engaged, that's when they unleash the monkey, the playful, daring, wildly inventive part of them that makes each experience feel fresh and unpredictable. Tactile precision and sensory awareness. Touch is not random with a Virgo monkey. Every gesture is purposeful, every caress, timed, every breath, observed. They learn your body like a map, and they take pride in memorizing the routes that make you shiver. Virgo gives them an obsession with getting things right, and in bed, this means paying deep attention to feedback, even the unspoken kind. If your breathing changes, if your muscles tense, if your energy shifts even slightly, they catch it. This level of attentiveness can make sex feel like being seen in ultra-high definition. And yet, it never feels clinical. That's where the monkey steps in, turning technique into play, surprise, and spontaneity. One night it's slow, intimate, sensual. The next, it's experimental, playful, and even a little wild. But it's never sloppy. Even their chaos has choreography. And always, it feels intentional. Cleanliness, ritual, and erotic structure. Hygiene is a non-negotiable. Virgo energy demands cleanliness, not just of body, but of space, mood, and even energy. They're turned on by fresh sheets, soft lighting, and thoughtful details. This isn't about snobbery, it's about creating a space where they can fully relax into the moment. Don't be surprised if they have a pre-intimacy routine, a playlist, a scent, a set of textures or lighting conditions that set the scene just right. The Virgo side turns these rituals into a kind of sacred foreplay. But then the monkey flips the narrative. Hidden within that structure is often a playful surprise. A new toy, a shift in persona, a whispered fantasy they've been saving for weeks. They might even schedule sex in advance, not because it's boring, but because they like to build anticipation. To them, structure isn't a cage, it's a canvas for creativity. adapting, evolving, and keeping it fresh. If there's one thing a Virgo monkey cannot tolerate in the bedroom, it's stagnation. They need novelty, not in the form of constant partners or wild experimentation for its own sake, but an emotional and erotic evolution. They want their sexual connection to feel like a growing storyline, not a stuck loop. That's why they pay attention. They adapt. They ask questions, introduce new elements, and are surprisingly open to feedback. If you express a curiosity, they'll quietly go research it and figure out how to incorporate it safely and meaningfully. Over time, they become masters at building a dynamic, evolving sexual language with their partner, one rooted in trust and always pushing at the edges of discovery. Don't expect predictability. Even when they're using a familiar move, it'll be upgraded, refined, or reversed. That's the monkey's mischief. That's the Virgo's discipline. It's never just sex. It's an ever-unfolding exploration. Friendship, the wise jester. There's something disarmingly paradoxical about a Virgo monkey in the role of a friend. On the surface, they're buttoned up, punctual, and responsible, the person who never forgets your birthday and shows up 5 minutes early with snacks and backup chargers. But just when you think you've got them pegged as the practical type, they'll crack a joke so sharp, bizarre, or unexpectedly brilliant that it leaves the whole room laughing or scratching their heads. This is their magic. They balance wisdom with wit, seriousness with absurdity. They're the friend who can give you the best budgeting advice while doing impressions of your ex. They bring a kind of organized chaos into your life, supportive, smart, but never, ever boring. They're the type of person you can call in a crisis or a comedy club, and they'll be equally at home in both. The emotional toolkit of a Virgo monkey. Their emotional intelligence is off the charts, but not in the gushy, overly emotional sense. Virgo makes them excellent listeners. They don't just hear you, they process you. They file away your fears, your tendencies, your comfort foods, and your triggers. They won't interrupt with cliches or empty sympathy. Instead, they'll offer solutions wrapped in empathy, logic softened by real care. Monkey energy, on the other hand, gives them lightness and levity. They know exactly when to shift the mood with humor, not to dismiss your pain, but to remind you there's still brightness ahead. They're the friend who'll sit quietly while you rant, hand you tissues, and then casually say, "Okay, but have you tried fixing your life by switching to decaf and breaking up with your Wi-Fi?" And somehow, it helps. Their advice? Thoughtful. Their delivery? Hilariously on point. Diverse circles, loyal core. Virgo monkeys have a social style best described as selectively eclectic. You'll find them floating comfortably between different groups, debating philosophy with the introverts, dancing with the extroverts, bonding with the weirdos, and quietly observing the influencers. They love people who make them think, and they're drawn to originality like bees to lavender. But while their acquaintance circle may be large, their true friendship circle is small and highly curated. If you're in that inner circle, consider yourself honored. You've passed their unspoken tests of trust, consistency, and emotional intelligence. They'll go to great lengths for their people. Late-night phone calls, cross-country flights, spreadsheet help at 2 a.m. but betray their trust, flood their life with drama, or try to manipulate their loyalty, and they're out. Quietly, politely, permanently. They value peace over people-pleasing. And once they lock the door, it stays shut. Support that's both practical and deep. Want a friend who can hype you up and fix your printer? Someone who'll talk you through a breakup and help you negotiate your lease. That's the Virgo monkey vibe in action. They blend the Virgo gift for problem solving with the monkey's urge to help, and together, they become the ultimate support system. They don't just say, "Let me know if you need anything." They show up with to-do lists, solutions, and a small basket of snacks because you forgot to eat lunch. Their friendship isn't performative, it's functional and deeply thoughtful. They anticipate needs, sometimes before you do. And they're the rare kind of friend who doesn't need constant praise for their efforts. They give from a genuine place, and the satisfaction comes from knowing they made your day a little better, a little easier, a little lighter. Clear boundaries and zero drama. If you're someone who thrives on chaos, constant messaging, and emotional roller coasters, You might not vibe with the Virgo monkey long term. They do not do emotional messiness as a lifestyle. Crisis? Sure, they'll show up, but if your life is a self-imposed tornado every week and you expect them to ride shotgun? Nope, they will bow out, respectfully and silently, without drama. Their time and energy are precious resources, and they treat their peace like a priceless asset. They're not trying to be cold, they just know their limits. Don't expect them to tolerate manipulative games, attention-seeking antics, or group chats with 73 unread messages. They prefer quality over quantity in every relationship, and that includes their communication. Respect their boundaries, don't push for constant access, don't demand emotional labor without reciprocity, and you'll find yourself with a rock-solid friend. One who's low maintenance, high value, and entirely irreplaceable. Business, the stealth genius. In the world of business, the Virgo monkey isn't the one making dramatic pitches or taking up all the airtime in boardrooms. They're the one sitting quietly, analyzing the room, connecting dots no one else even sees, and crafting a plan that, months later, will turn out to be 5 moves ahead of everyone else. Their success isn't explosive, it's surgical. They don't chase attention, they chase effectiveness. The Virgo side is obsessed with details, order, and logic. The monkey side brings creativity, risk tolerance, and relentless problem solving. Combine those two, and what you get is a rare type of genius. Someone who's as likely to engineer a flawless workflow as they are to spontaneously reimagine an entire business model over lunch. Others see the result, the elegant brand, the profitable campaign, the perfectly timed pivot, but rarely the behind-the-scenes grind that Virgo monkeys thrive on. The artisan strategist. They don't just work for money, they work for mastery. Virgo monkeys have an almost artisanal approach to business. Every choice is intentional, every system optimized, every outcome measured. They're not about gimmicks or shortcuts, they want their work to mean something. But don't mistake them for rigid perfectionists. The monkey within them constantly challenges the Virgo's need for structure, asking, "What if we did it this way instead?" That internal creative tension often leads them to innovate in subtle but powerful ways. They don't reinvent the wheel, they quietly make it smoother, faster, and more elegant. You'll rarely find them chasing trends. Instead, they refine processes, shape ideas, and build long-term sustainability. Whether it's launching a product, consulting on systems, or scaling a startup, their strategy is never accidental. It's intuitive, intelligent, and deeply hands-on. Silent disruption and pattern recognition. If there's one superpower Virgo monkeys have in business, it's the ability to spot patterns before others do, both the ones that signal growth and the ones that hint at collapse. They're constant observers, always processing market shifts, consumer psychology, system inefficiencies, competitive behaviors. They see the trend before it trends, the weakness before it breaks. But they don't rush to expose it or boast about it. Instead, they quietly reposition themselves, restructure their offer, or switch lanes entirely, often leaving competitors confused as to how they stayed ahead. They're silent disruptors. They don't need to announce that they've figured it out. They'll just quietly move their chess piece into the perfect position, and wait for the board to shift in their favor. They operate on long timelines with short bursts of brilliant execution. By the time others are reacting, they've already optimized and advanced. Independent efficiency and small team power. Put a Virgo monkey in a big, disorganized team with endless meetings, corporate politics, and redundant decision-making layers, and watch their soul slowly wither. They're not built for bureaucratic chaos. They thrive in lean, efficient environments where ideas can be executed quickly, smartly, and with minimal ego interference. They love working alone or with small, nimble teams where every member is sharp, self-motivated, and focused on outcomes over credit. In these settings, they shine. They're often the backbone of small startups or the secret weapon within elite task forces. The one who designs the launch plan, writes the copy, fixes the workflow, and still finds time to question the pricing model. When they do step into leadership, they're the kind of boss people love, fair, systems-minded, and low drama. They care less about titles and more about whether things work. Their leadership isn't loud, but it gets results. Productivity, perfectionism, and the burnout trap. While their work ethic is nearly unmatched, Virgo monkeys often flirt with the dangerous edge of burnout. Their Virgo side sets incredibly high standards, not just for themselves, but for everything they touch. Their monkey side, meanwhile, refuses to slow down, constantly chasing the next improvement, idea, or opportunity. This internal push-pull creates a work rhythm that's productive, yes, but also exhausting. They're the ones who'll edit a proposal until 3 a.m., redesign the entire client onboarding process over a weekend, or silently pick up the slack when others drop the ball, without asking for help. They don't want to burn out, they just don't know how to stop when the details still feel off. That's why self-care isn't optional for them, it's essential. Without rest, reflection, and regular mental resets, they risk turning their brilliance into brittle obsession. The best Virgo monkey businesspeople aren't just strategic in their work, they're strategic in their recovery. Dark sides, the silent storm. Every strength casts a shadow, and for the Virgo monkey, those shadows often move in silence, under control, masked with intellect and charm. On the surface, they may appear grounded, responsible, and unbothered, the calm in the chaos, the thinker in the room full of reactors. But beneath that composed exterior simmers a storm of anxiety, self-doubt, and inner conflict. Their darkness doesn't explode outward, it turns inward first. Virgo makes them critical, perfection-obsessed, and prone to overanalysis. Monkey adds a jittery restlessness and a deep, almost panicked need to escape whatever feels too heavy, too dull, or too imperfect. Combined, this duality creates an emotional pressure cooker. They suffer in silence, rarely asking for help, believing that control equals safety. And when things begin to spiral, their responses, withdrawal, sarcasm, overwork, or impulsive detours, are just signals that the storm has reached its eye. The paradox of overthinking and impulsivity. One of the most disorienting traits of a Virgo monkey is how their analytical mind constantly wages war with their impulsive streak. Virgo whispers, "Think it through." Monkey screams, "Let's just do it." And neither voice fully wins. This results in a behavioral loop that's both exhausting and confusing, for them and everyone around them. They'll spend days crafting a detailed plan, perfecting every step, only to abandon it overnight because a sudden inspiration hits. Or worse, they'll make a rash decision and then spend weeks tearing themselves apart over it. Their mind doesn't rest, it critiques, calculates, replays, reconsiders. Overthinking becomes their form of emotional paralysis. They may find themselves obsessing over a single word in a text message, a facial expression from a coworker, or a perceived slight from a friend. It's not that they don't trust, it's that their mind won't stop testing every scenario for failure. Control, criticism, and the fear of chaos. Control is their drug of choice, not because they're power-hungry, but because chaos terrifies them. The Virgo monkey craves precision and clarity. When life becomes unpredictable, they overcompensate. This often shows up in subtle but toxic ways: micromanaging others, rigid routines, and chronic perfectionism that makes collaboration difficult. They don't just hold themselves to impossible standards, they can unintentionally project those standards onto loved ones. If someone lets them down or disrupts their carefully constructed reality, they rarely confront it directly. Instead, they withdraw emotionally, offering silence instead of explanation, distance instead of forgiveness. It's a cold punishment, often misunderstood. But at its core is fear. The fear that if they don't control something, anything, they'll lose themselves in the mess. And because they believe so deeply in competence and order, failure, even tiny failure, feels like a personal betrayal. Emotional distance in the disguise of productivity. When Virgo monkeys are emotionally overwhelmed, they don't scream. They shrink. They retreat into their minds, into their to-do lists, into their laptops or creative projects. They intellectualize feelings that should be felt, talk in metaphors instead of truths, and mask emotional pain with sarcasm, humor, or productivity. It's their coping mechanism, and to outsiders, it can look like coldness or detachment. But the truth is, they feel too much. They just don't trust those feelings. Emotion, to them, is messy, unpredictable, and illogical, and thus unsafe. So they bury it under work, routine, or witty commentary. They might disappear for days emotionally while being physically present, going through the motions but not letting anyone in. Their inner motto becomes, "I'll deal with this later." Only sometimes, later never comes. And their relationships suffer for it, not because they don't care, but because they care so much, it terrifies them. Escapism, deception, and the need to be free. There's a mischievous side to the Virgo monkey, one that doesn't always play fair when under pressure. The monkey in them craves novelty, freedom, and fun. When trapped in situations that feel emotionally stifling, repetitive, or too intense, they may slip into escapist behavior, ghosting a difficult conversation, fabricating a busy day, or seeking a thrill to distract from the discomfort. Dishonesty isn't their default, but it becomes a reflex when they feel cornered. They don't lie to harm, they lie to protect, mostly themselves. It could be little lies, "I'm fine," when they're not. "I'm just tired," when they're drowning in emotion. Or it could be more serious, like disappearing into work to avoid dealing with relationship tension, or chasing external validation when their self-worth takes a hit. These moments of rebellion aren't acts of cruelty, they're calls for help disguised as independence. The shadow of self-expectation. Above all, the darkest weight they carry is internal, the crushing expectation to be more. To be perfect, to be right, to be productive, to be needed. Virgo monkeys hold themselves to an invisible standard that no one else can see, a standard that no achievement, compliment, or success ever quite satisfies. They fear mediocrity the way others fear failure. But what haunts them most is not disappointing others, it's disappointing themselves. That quiet voice that says, "You should have done better," never stops. It drives them to accomplish incredible things, yes, but it also keeps them from resting, from feeling satisfied, from accepting the beauty of the imperfect present. When they fall short, they don't just feel guilt, they feel shame, and instead of reaching out, they retreat into solitude, ashamed to let anyone see their cracks. Because under all their brilliance, precision, and wit, lies a soul that's terrified of not being enough. Life purpose, mastery with meaning. The Virgo monkey wasn't designed to live passively or simply follow trends. Deep in their psyche, there's a relentless pull toward significance, a desire to create, refine, build, and ultimately leave something behind that matters. They don't want their days to blur together in mediocrity. They want their efforts to count. Whether it's in business, art, relationships, or personal development, their life must be a project, with structure, growth, and evolution. They're not chasing popularity, they're chasing excellence. The Virgo in them craves mastery, not for applause, but for inner fulfillment. The monkey side craves motion. They need to explore, experiment, and stretch boundaries. Together, these forces create a soul whose deepest drive is to make life an intricate blend of intention and discovery. Their success isn't accidental, it's sculpted, with care, with thought, and with the quiet belief that meaning is something you build, not something you stumble upon. The compulsion to improve everything. From the moment they wake up, Virgo monkeys are scanning their environment, not just for what is, but for what could be better. They have an almost involuntary reflex to fix, streamline, and optimize. Whether it's reorganizing a messy drawer, reworking a business system, or entangling a philosophical dilemma, they can't help but bring order to chaos. This isn't about control, it's about purpose. They see improvement not as a task, but as a lifestyle. Their life purpose is driven by elevation, elevating standards, elevating systems, elevating conversations, elevating people. In many ways, they are curators of refinement, but always with utility in mind. They don't improve things for aesthetics alone, they improve things to make them work better. And this includes themselves. They're constantly evolving, reading, learning, adjusting. To stop growing would feel like a slow death. Purpose, to them, is never a fixed point. It's a moving target, and they love the chase. The dual engine, discipline and curiosity. What powers a Virgo monkey's journey through life is a rare fusion of discipline and curiosity. Virgo brings focus, systems, and long-game thinking. Monkey brings wonder, boldness, and the guts to try something weird. This inner duality is where their life purpose takes flight. They're the student who not only studies the textbook front to back, but then questions the professor's assumptions. They're the entrepreneur who builds the back end of a business with ruthless precision, then reinvents the customer experience just because they can. This balance keeps them from falling into either extreme. The Virgo alone might become too rigid, the monkey alone might lose direction. Together, they keep each other honest. Curiosity gives them new ideas. Discipline gives those ideas legs. They don't just dream, they do. And they don't just do, they question, correct, refine, and rebuild until it becomes something meaningful. Something real, something theirs. Legacy over limelight. One of the most fascinating traits of the Virgo monkey is their quiet rejection of superficial success. They don't want a million followers, they want a body of work. They don't need a standing ovation, they want impact that lasts. Their ego doesn't crave constant validation. What it craves is effectiveness. They would rather be the mastermind behind a revolutionary system no one knows about than the face of a flashy trend that disappears in 6 months. This makes their life purpose incredibly grounded. They aren't driven by hype or external approval. They're driven by results. And often, without chasing the limelight, they end up earning deep respect in their communities, industries, or families. People trust them because they deliver. People listen to them because they've earned authority through wisdom and consistency. Their legacy is built day by day, not for show, but for substance. And that substance becomes their true mark on the world. The inner tug of war that fuels growth. Living as a Virgo monkey means constantly managing internal tension, a push-pull between the craving for safety and the itch for disruption. Virgo wants predictability, tradition, and routine. Monkey wants change, challenge, and stimulation. This can sometimes feel exhausting, but it's also the source of their greatest strength. They never become stagnant, because just when comfort starts to take over, the monkey jolts them into reinvention. And just when they're about to spiral into chaos, Virgo pulls them back to center. This duality shapes their life purpose in profound ways. They become masters of self-reinvention. They can shift careers, rebuild identities, relocate, relaunch, all while keeping their internal compass pointed toward growth and mastery. They're not afraid of starting over, because they trust themselves to build better every time. And that's the secret. Their life purpose isn't just about what they create. It's about who they become in the process. Final thoughts. A Virgo born in the year of the monkey is one of life's most compelling contradictions, a paradox with a pulse. You can't categorize them easily. Just when you think you've figured them out, they show another layer. 1 minute, they're offering deeply practical advice with surgical precision. The next, they're pulling you into a spontaneous adventure, laughing like a child with a secret. You'll never feel entirely prepared for who they are, and that's what makes their presence so captivating. They are thinkers who play, artists who organize, leaders who listen, and beneath all their intellect and motion is something grounding and rare, substance. When they show up for you, emotionally, mentally, or physically, they mean it. The gift of earned depth. What makes the Virgo monkey truly unique is not their versatility, it's their intentionality. Every connection they nurture, every project they touch, every choice they make, it's all been considered. They may not be the loudest in the room, but they're almost always the most layered. And once they let you into their world, you'll see just how much depth they've been hiding behind all that wit, observation, and restless curiosity. Getting close to them takes time. But if you're patient, if you listen as much as you speak, you'll be rewarded with a bond that's both deeply loyal and endlessly evolving. They don't give themselves to just anyone. But when they choose you, they're all in, intelligently, protectively, and wholeheartedly. Their unshakable inner compass. At the core of every Virgo monkey is a compass that doesn't point north, it points inward. They're guided not by external noise, but by their own evolving standards of truth, quality, and meaning. They may experiment, stumble, or get sidetracked by shiny distractions, but they always realign with their values. That internal integrity is what sets them apart in a world addicted to appearances. They don't seek empty victories. They seek fulfillment that resonates on a personal level. That's why their wins, in love, in career, in self-growth, often feel quieter but run deeper. They're not here to impress the world. They're here to improve it, even if just in small, meticulous, meaningful ways. Why they challenge you, and why that's good. A Virgo monkey won't always make your life easier, but they'll absolutely make it better. They challenge assumptions. They question lazy thinking. They hold mirrors up to your blind spots. And yes, sometimes their perfectionism, sarcasm, or detachment can frustrate you. But stay close. Push past the protective humor, the intellectual armor, and the occasional emotional retreat. Because underneath, they're rooting for you in ways you won't always see right away. Their love is intelligent, their friendship is earned, their trust is a slow burn, but it lasts. If they challenge you, it's because they believe in you. And if you rise to meet them, you'll discover not just a better version of yourself, but one of the most remarkable humans you'll ever meet. A force of complexity and heart. To know a Virgo monkey is to experience life in high definition. They sharpen everything around them, your thinking, your standards, your sense of what's possible. They're not just observers of life, they're editors, innovators, storytellers, and quiet revolutionaries. And even in their contradictions, or maybe because of them, they embody something extraordinary, a life that matters. Whether they're building a brand, healing a wound, falling in love, or sitting quietly beside you in a moment of grief, they are present. With their whole mind, with their whole heart, with intention. They don't just move through the world, they leave it better than they found it. Final reminder. If you've got a Virgo monkey in your orbit, cherish that. You're not dealing with someone ordinary. You're dealing with a layered, intelligent, brilliantly complex force of nature who is both wildly curious and deeply committed. Someone who won't just share your journey, they'll elevate it. And if you are the Virgo monkey, don't ever dim your complexity to fit a smaller world. Your depth is your power. Your contradictions are your compass. And your mind, steady, brilliant, and always in motion, is exactly what this chaotic world needs more of. Want more character deep dives like this? Don't forget to subscribe, tap like, and check the description for exclusive breakdowns and personality guides that go beyond the zodiac. Trust us, this rabbit hole goes deep.